차는데 내 주요 그러고 차성상 주로는 받아다시 하지 주로 콜로코와디 다리 공적으로가 제시야 추정 콜로시 받을 때 사추정 콜로 남추정 콜로 상화추정 콜로 some 요리 때 사추정 콜로고 안에 다 lama gewishi nama goba guni sheta flopda dubda lasoba to kanto janan beyo te tamchi sawale jo koloso ne tera ti chiwa te tawe chongba teni chongba soso na teni chuto teni mi jiru rokte de chuto de teni kachi ga de bechado kachi ga kangba de teni tere chu kudu chere de tada chuto de khoy 추소도 종반은 추소도 하장기 쳔보리 이제 밤요메리 주영이 계도 요와 탐제나 이제다 로투고 요 말이 주고도고 요 말이 이제 남주도 콜로드는 이제다 사주도 콜로 잘라들이 추소 죽바들 그리시와 추소로 그리시만 이제 가다 상속도 조정는 성만 로등이 미적 버대와 선정은 이만이 끝에 강계도 이런 것도 이발을 끝에서 이게 다 풀어야지. 주소를 로랑지 주소 가려면 주로 가려면 제일 샤데자 다니게 레까지 저 때문에 강방을 내 추고들이 대 직접에 지시한 거 주소를 피받아 되어 이렇게 대답지 또 추적 콜로그 체들이 얘네들이 로랑 민지는 걔네들이 진짜 정보 뒤는 몇 가지 브레이크 맥세 두고 레이드베이키는 지금 좋아요. 좋아만 다 봐요. 저저 레이드베요. 제들한테 스마트카게 다들 야, 다 마마한테 다들 스마트카게 다들 레이드베 하고도 라서랑 그다음에 출입임에 그것도 필름에 따라더니 데이터 남주도 걸어들래. 남주도 걸어들는 데랑 그들이 수당 거쪽에 남미제 그요래 데이터를 추소도 하장 필름 쳐버려. 데이터다 추소도 망보요래. 데이터 샤데자니 망보요래. 데이터 스키들이 망보요래. 데이터 중요한 가래래. 다다 추소로 차도시. 데이 로멜라마를 차도시. 변 라마 게베시니 레게 미 첩차만 뭐 또라만 뭐 맞지요래. 다들 중중지 데이터를 지키 다쿠도 사제 때마다 나고작이 쳐버들이 그렇게 되는 이 산속성만 끝봤다고 이바 치시로 데일 라마 게시는 끝봤다면 라마 게시는 춤제 톡세데 디바도 로요리 데일들이 쳐치 보면 삼바도나 그 중초중로들이 삼바지 쳐거다 라고래 대시식 정원에 하자니 맞춰 버려 베르데도 참이를 내문은 소문이 감성성이 들키와 산속서반은 그봤다 산속서반 강만 세조가 대답적이 semplicemente 핀바다 데벨에 니체메바 통화다 투바다 조바 통화다 산에서만 통화다 그것도 대박이야 좀 투바다들이 유저서와 대답에 something 잡아 대답지 파부 게든 참아지 잡지도 마시 봤습니다들이 꼭 게든 송 당시 톡상지에 사기 상문으로 차은 거예요 데이터 차음을 데이터들이 이제 데이터를 탐지를 구바시오 기세랑 공부 데이터서는 하던 침보리들을 삭발도 동대는 견디고 데이터도 저들이 하던 자 침보리 데이터지 추적 콜로고 제 소화 추적 콜로들이 따라하는 게 너무 대박이 도도는 고속 좀 제일 있지 동당 것들이 나갔다 와도 동들이 되게 야다고 생각하는 초바 섭dim에서 먹고서 좀 죽기를 저러고 만두가를 들었지 삼바체메 바테가 되니 심지어 단딩을 한 박차데 루아를 좀 민속서데 단딩을 한 박차를 봐도 니들 것도 여러래 요 그때 다 우고 지만한테는 하면은 그때 사족체고 뒤에다 단딩이 시작해서 뭐 박차 다 다른 식도 그요 배제다가 섭dim에 잡아 추정 걸어다지 찾던 걸로 남추던 걸로 남추 잠세바 라는 냠면세바 소화 치료 걸로들 동도를 먼저 같이 이때 서동 삼성 치료 걸로들 마태가 그 쇼고 삼성 하던 같이 몰래 들이 다다 치료 걸로 하는데 다들이 참작과인지.
So Dharma friends, we are still in the branch, the branch of requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma. And there was one point on that I wanted to mention, but I forgot to mention it before, but it also belongs to this verse here actually. And that is, so there are three aspects to this request of turning the wheel of Dharma. And that is as an outer, inner, and a secret aspect. So the outer aspect of requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma is, for example, the different lamas, the spiritual teachers, all over the place engage in outer Dharma activities. So, for example, they are building monasteries and Dharma centers and kshetras, colleges, monastic colleges, and retreat places and so forth, schools. So they engage in these activities. So that's why it is called the karmic wheel, or the wheel of enlightened activity. And some perform these activities in a really vast sense. And then there are a very more smaller activities that happen too, but they're actually extremely precious. So for example, like a smaller activity of turning the outer wheel of Dharma is, for example, if you just have a small town where you start a Dharma center. And if even 4 people come together and practice there together, it is extremely precious. And everyone contributes in their own ways, in whichever way they can. For example, those who have the financial means, they make donations, or those who have a house, that maybe they offer the house for the center, or those other people help through their voluntary service or anything. So many centers have been built in these towns, and that's really very beneficial. Because there are many people who really want to practice the Dharma. Many people do not have a lot of money, and they want to practice the Dharma, and they have nowhere to go otherwise, if there wouldn't be a small center in your town. And if there is a center, then those people who can't go elsewhere to practice, they can go there and they can practice the Dharma. Otherwise, they have no chance. So that's the outer turning of the wheel of Dharma. And then the inner aspect of turning of the wheel of Dharma is, so for example, it is said in the Bodhicharyavatara that relates to the benefits of having a center, for example. It says that the Buddha's teachings are the only medicine for the suffering of sentient beings. Therefore, one should praise and serve the twofold teachings of the Buddha. So that could look like in the form of offering service, for example, to a Dharma center, and any religion, any kind of lineage, it doesn't matter, to help them, maybe through donations, through service, or in whichever way you can. And even if you cannot help in any external way, you can just rejoice and receive the same benefit. So again, this is all the outer turning of the wheel of Dharma. And through that, what happens is that the people who go to this Dharma center, then the Dharma center will open their eyes to karma. And once they understand karma, they understand also that this life is impermanent and one day we will die. And when we die, then karma continues to work. And so it is said that if you wish to know what you did in the past, look at your present body. If you wish to know where you will go next, look at your present actions. If you understand karma, anyone who understands karma will be able to observe their own laws, the laws just naturally. So anyways, this is all the outer turning of the wheel of Dharma, and then the inner turning of the wheel of Dharma is, so having established such a place for people, which is the outer aspect, then the inner aspect is that people can actually study and they can reflect and they can practice, they can learn the Dharma there. And that is really why the Dharma Center is, at any Dharma Center, is so important. It's extremely important. And with that in mind, many disciples have founded different Dharma centers in various places. And people have contributed in many ways. Some have, for example, donated things, some have printed texts, and so on. There's only a good quality, but if a fault arises in a Dharma center, then it happens often due to jealousy, for example, between a guru and disciple, and disciples, and so forth. And so that can be it could be extremely dangerous. And we have to be very careful with that, because, for example, if there's a Lama who has a large following, and so through the teachings he was able to open the eyes to karma of thousands of disciples. And then one person comes along and, and just tries to find the slightest fault, anything wrong with that Lama. And then basically finds that little fault of the Lama, but kind of shames all of the Buddha's teachings for it. And actually it is said that there is nothing worse than to criticize a bodhisattva's activities, or to try to expose their faults. Because when we do that, so this Lama, let's say, has opened the eyes to karma and so on, to the Dharma, to thousands of disciples, and then if one comes along and just speaks about that Lama's faults, then maybe thousands of disciples will turn away from the Dharma. They will lose their faith, and that is extremely harmful for them. For example, it's like a bridge over a river, and if you just actually it is said that if there's just a slight damage to the bridge, it will just collapse. So you're looking for a tiny fault of that guru, you make that whole bridge collapse, and people will turn away from the Dharma. And that is extremely dangerous. Chagme Rinpoche also said in the prayer of Sukhavati, he said that it is a greater downfall, a greater fault to humiliate or openly denigrate a bodhisattva than it is to kill all the sentient beings in the three realms. What it means is because they are passing on the teachings of the Buddha, which is the only medicine, the only source of benefit and happiness of all sentient beings, and through their teachings, many countless sentient beings can become liberated. Anyone who sees a bodhisattva has a seed of liberation planted, for example, or just hears of a bodhisattva and so on. For example, if we just hear the words, the teachings or so of a bodhisattva, then already such a person has that seed of liberation planted in their mind. So that is why the noble Sangha is extremely precious. And actually anyone who has taken the refuge vow is a Sangha. And we should see them purely for this reason, so which means the body of a Sangha is the Sangha, and the speech is the Dharma, and the mind is the Buddha. The Sangha really is the seed of there are many seeds, they're all seeds of the Buddha. And therefore, if we respect the Sangha, then that is an incredible merit. And a Dharma center is a community of the Sangha, and that is why just a small Dharma center in a town is just extremely precious. And that is a place where the wheel of Dharma is being turned. So the outer wheel of Dharma is the outer center, and the inner wheel of Dharma is the people going there and practicing there. And then the secret Dharma wheel is that then somebody who practices will eventually realize the nature of the mind, or the twofold truth. So first they cultivate trust in the relative truth, which is karma, and then as a result of that, they realize the ultimate truth, which is the nature of their mind. And once one has realized the nature of mind, their mind becomes vast. And then they can pervade all the Pure Lands, all the Buddhas with limitless offerings, for example. And that's what we call the limitless cloud offerings of Samantabhadra, offering clouds of Samantabhadra. And they are able to pervade all sentient beings in samsara, however many there are, and liberate them from their negative karma and habitual imprints, their self-grasping. Sentient beings suffer in the 3 lower realms, but so someone who has realized the nature of the mind realizes that even though sentient beings suffer in the lower realms, there are no ultimately real sentient beings that exist. It is just a temporary projection of their own karmic imprints, but ultimately that is not their true nature. It is just that this is what they believe for the time being. But they realize that all of this is illusory. And so once one realizes that, one can easily seal the mind of self-grasping with bodhicitta right there and then. And in that moment, all fixation to a concrete reality will collapse. So that is the secret turning of the wheel of dharma. So there was the outer and the inner and the secret. So the outer is the outer establishments, the inner is the inner practice of listening, reflecting, and meditating. And then the secret really is to realize the ultimate truth through meditation practice. So that's what I wanted to share on the 3 kinds of turning of the wheel of dharma. It's extremely important. So this completes the branch of requesting to turn the wheel of dharma.
Lumba soso ke jira, the solar journey, the choose jira, the church that jeba, the take doma, the dev zoa, the tachi, touch the colorate, the chudu just something, Yigin Jen Chu Jinsing La Song, Chudu just all the day, Yigi try, Yigi Chuba, Yigi Jimba, the Pajava Gage, Tin Gage, or around so to Gage, the party, the Chudu colorate. These are the drawing to what all the tin, Jackie Shimshiba, the drawing general watching Tamateta, Chuja Tom Jova Teta, the Chuda Chapataveri, they said the chicken about the sound on the dog sound of it. There are the Tambo, Tuba, the Noah, the Qua, the Goa, the Noah, Go, Nyong, Do, some Zongore, did the Chility Yongore, the Tusamati Yongore, the Gage of the Hatani, Tachibo, Payum Chembore, Lama giving Somba, Lecham, they don't dart on the ransom of Gage, Ragaton Ha, go the share, Minico Penga, Ragaton Ha, Magoja, the Chegla Delicate, Data Pengate, Data Big Ragaton, the Ha quality, Data Ranga Pengate, Ranga Samu, Chuja, the Samu, Matari, Lashi, much that Hako made it. That's how many Roman tell machine got out of water, ya. They should shoot the Samu taxi. Data of a sugar, they looked around the same way they look at me. Hako, that's a prison. Roma subject garden within the teacher, the Roma subject garden, the theater of union. Get the Ratam Jake, Tom Gay, talking drawing to what around the sunny. The Chichokolo, Saji, Chichokolo, Saji, the body, Churang said the decision was sent to the Sanjay. There is somebody to give the Chile. This is a Chu, the silver, the take that on to what again do it. Then we suggest our Sajil, Sajil Chubala Teleata or Mari. Rang so long, Sabala Telepia or Maribena. Daughter do come the tower the Chile, the Chu, gave Java, Sheba, the Java, the Tevzo, the Samjela, the Roston, Petty, dear Jamtaba, the Tama Chuju Colori, Tama to the Chase, until the company come to Pertama, the data of the Chia kitchen already.
So then there's now one very important thing and a special point to be made here also in terms of the turning of the wheel of dharma, and that is that also those activities of in the various countries to translate all the teachings into your different languages in the various countries is to turn the wheel of Dharma, or to translate the texts, to translate Dharma teachings, to edit them, to proofread them, and so on, to print them and make books out of them and distribute them. So all of these books. So all of this is to turn the wheel of Dharma. And there are the 10 kind of commitments of distributing the Dharma activity. And so some of them are like giving the Dharma and composing the Dharma and reading and reciting the Dharma and teaching the Dharma, so explaining the Dharma, and also translating the Dharma and printing the Dharma, editing the Dharma, and so forth. And then translating them into various different languages. And all of that is to turn the wheel of Dharma. And therefore also having discussion groups, discussing the Dharma with each other is to turn the wheel of Dharma, because in this way, disciples can help each other understand the Dharma. So the Dharma is like rain, and the mind, the Buddha nature of all sentient beings is like the seeds in the ground. And when the rain falls down, the seeds will ripen. So somebody who explains the Dharma and who discusses the Dharma and so forth and teaches the Dharma must have an experience of the Dharma first. Then the words will be beneficial. So first we need to understand, and second one we need to experience, and then in the end we need to realize. These three must come together. And these come together. These three are accomplished through Dharma practice, and so that's why the Dharma translators are really extremely precious, extremely beneficial. So for example, when a spiritual teacher gives a teaching, and then the translator translates the teaching, and actually, the translator is only able to convey it in a way that is understood by others if the translator themselves has understood the meaning of what is being said, and not only understood the words. So if one only understands the words, then there is not so much benefit. There's still a little bit of benefit, of course, in translating these words, but the real benefit to others is accomplished when they themselves understand the meaning. And so when they understand the meaning, then those who listen will naturally receive the meaning. They will understand the meaning. And so in this way, others are benefited. So it is a translator is someone who really understands the words of the teachings and really the meaning of the words, and has really thought about them themselves and really internalized it, and therefore is able to convey it. If they would not have understanding of those words, they wouldn't be able to just tell people the meaning easily. So I myself, however, I'm not someone who knows anything really, but people put me on a high throne, a high chair. And so since I'm in this position, then I keep thinking, how can I really benefit them? And I can say that I have understood the nature of phenomena, the nature of the mind, and that is of some benefit, surely. But really I find that the disciples have been extremely kind to me, because the fact that I know how to teach at least a little bit is because of the kindness of the disciples, and also the efforts made by the translators to convey these teachings. So in this way, we should make effort in the Dharma, and it's very beneficial that if in your own places, wherever you are, you organize discussion groups with each other and discuss the Dharma. That really is to turn the wheel of Dharma. That's really a Buddha activity, an enlightened activity. So our Buddha nature is one and the same, And the dharma is love and compassion. And so someone who understands the dharma and has experience in the dharma will be able to convey the dharma in a way that is understood by others. And so such a person is a sangha. Therefore, I encourage you, wherever you are, to engage in such activities, because discussion groups and so on really are an activity of a Buddha, an enlightened activity, and really there is no greater way than to have these kind of discussion groups in order to accumulate merit. It's the greatest way to accumulate merit. It's of the greatest benefit in order to become liberated from the 6 realms of samsara. So again, I would like to say thank you to the translators and who have translated teachings and books, and then also those who have edited those books and who have sponsored those books or have printed those books and have distributed those books and so on. So to all of them, I'm extremely grateful. And that all is to turn the wheel of Dharma. So it's very important to engage in such activities to increase the Dharma.
Jepun Jepsi Ngang Punsor Mochiki, Mara Tiki so Dong Doba Pinus Ubacasa, Ryan Botamba Jabding Shuaris. Oh, and that all Jason so Dong, what he was so Dong Lawa Tamjati Jabdinki, or so Dong Lawa Tam, Matan Jaote, Matan Javon Doe, Sanji Jodin City, Sanji Jodin, Chutiki, Majestic, Chill and Dali, Jetta Matan Jawson. 특별히 소종 노발랑아 자주 공부도 자기 상계샤지 계랑 차원에서 계랑 차를 때도 준신이 배수를 해가지고 이것을 계획이 자체 그 요래 때다주 상계 말을 쓸랍도 그래 세는 대신 뭐 요래 데려 삼바타 니지 요래 야 때때들이 때베들이 무슨 상계사 왔지 그 요래 때는 깨져 탐지 이절들 다음들이 촉야 들이 제지 제지 들이 탐지게 rolling 쪽과 하자 귀지 보래 그때 마와 탐지 고 마도 탐지 또 타고 요래 rolling 것도 토마 뭐 잡게 요래 토마 뭐 잡게 대파카자 적대는 뜻이 사면이 다 타를 보러 되고 사치 자자그 고고고들이 같이 리인데 같이 리면서 그것도 저도 요래데 랑들이 동반을 때다 깨졌다 저쪽에 리인데 타고 랑을 리인다 취시에 필무지와 점바 탐시에는 취지점마 초리스 되게 내가 다톡 니가들이 랑동 타고 점만한테 취지점마 초리 필무 취지대 소나사고 라돌로 소나사고로 대셔버려 예도를 필무를 맞들이 맞게 두고요래 되게 돌은 쪽과도 될 리데가 그래 나중에는 필거리 때기 쳐버려 될 사진을 될 게도 탐지 바보 게도 탐지 sem sanchok semona o sem sajeres ti ko gedu yinu yuje ba ko res song tam chu de le dum de she ko ne gedu ti ko som saje ko som top sang so go le o ko to som chang de da ne de la ma ge shi ni tam ji yin da yin de de mi ke jo ga ke je ri na ta ma pa de gi ka shi cha de li ta to ka ji li da no de ge ri de ge ba ni ka shi chang li da de ge ba de la ko de ma ri de ga je res 그 마시리 저 개신이 개발하는 마시라 창을 리더로 창들고 말했지. 동 시비들이 리인데 맞다봤더니 리 답을 수치는 리인데는 취시 비용 쪽 알아야 돼. 됐다고 거는 이 마음을 깨져 답지게 라는 거 돌려 쳐봐 돌려. 라는 거 좋아라 라는 리인데 봐. 때리 시지와 그치 뭐래. 내가 그래 알아야지.
So to me, all the translators or the interpreters and also the translators of texts and so on, I really see them as actual Buddhas. I can really say they are Buddhas. And some people maybe won't see it that way, and they say, how can they be Buddhas? And anyways, there would be too many Buddhas if they all would be Buddhas. But that's not how it is. We can say that really they are Buddhas because where did I learn that actually? There was this great Geshe, Drepung Geshe Ngawang Puntsok, from whom I've received the Mahayana Sojong vows. And so in this text that he gave, he says in there that so there was this request or teaching that was requested by the god Indra who spoke to the Buddha. So that was in this text now, in the Sojong vows, yeah. And so Indra then said to the Buddha that if people take the Mahayana Sojong vows, then will their splendor be equal to mine? Because Indra is quite splendorous. And then the Buddha said, don't say that. Anyone who takes the Sojong vows, their splendor will be equal to mine. So they will be equal to the Buddha. So therefore, anyone who just basically hears of those vows, who has faith in those vows, their splendor will equal the Buddhas, and then no need to mention those who have actually taken the vows. They all become like the Buddha. And so therefore, this is really how I recognize that point, that really anyone who engages in these activities of upholding the Dharma and preserving and protecting the Dharma, proliferating and increasing the Dharma, all of these activities really are Buddha activities. For example, the various activities that the spiritual teachers, the masters engage in and so on. They really are Buddhas. Who can say that they are not Buddhas? Like all the teachers and the masters and also the translators, no one can say that they are not Buddhas because their mind has Buddha nature, and also they possess love and compassion, and their activity is nothing else but an activity of a Buddha. So therefore, especially those translators, interpreters and translators who continue to still make an effort and with increasing the Buddha's teachings and translating the teachings, this really is a Buddha activity. And then also the discussion with each other is extremely important. It's really most important because through such a discussion group, they can help. So for example, if a translator starts a discussion group, then they can help those who don't understand, and those who haven't realized the meaning of the Dharma. So then there is no need to ask someone who is far away, because often we think that there's only certain people that we can ask, and then if it's just this one person answering, then they don't want to listen to that, and they think they have to ask someone else special far away, and then they ask, and then they wait and wait for an answer, and sometimes they get one, and sometimes they don't, and then actually they lose out on the opportunity to actually have their questions answered in the end. So therefore, it is really very important that at the various Dharma centers, wherever you are, that you ask questions directly to the translators of that centers. And they should also teach the Dharma, because actually teaching the Dharma is an act of generosity. And of the various kinds of generosity, giving the Dharma is the best, the most supreme. Because through giving the Dharma, we show the path to others, the temporary and the ultimate path to happiness to others. And there's nothing greater, nothing more beneficial than that. And that's also a great merit for the one who is giving the Dharma to others, because they also need merit. We always need merit. And it's a great merit to open the eyes of the Dharma to others and make the Dharma understood to others. So that's why I find that having such a discussion groups where translators are answering the questions of the disciples, it's really very beneficial for the one who is answering the question, also the one who is asking the question. It's extremely important, and it's really a Buddha activity. So I really see them as a Buddha. And that is what we call in general the noble Sangha. So the noble Sangha is someone who has bodhicitta in their mind, and if they have bodhicitta, then their mind really is Buddha. So they really are the Sangha because the body is Sangha, because a Sangha refrains from harming others. And then their speech is the dharma because they teach others karma and so on, the dharma. And then there are their mind is the Buddha because of bodhicitta. So there, as one Sangha, within one Sangha, the three jewels and the Buddhas of the three times are all complete. So that is those, for example, translators, the case for those translators and interpreters and so on, and then of course also the teachers, the lamas and the various teachers. So actually, often what translators say is that I'm no one, I'm just ordinary, I don't know anything, I can't really teach the Dharma. And I tell them to teach the Dharma and to answer questions of others. So if you know something, you have to answer the question of others, and you can't say I don't know anything. That actually, if you know something, and if you know something, then and others wish to know, then you have to share that with others. Of course, if it's something that you don't really know, then also you don't teach that to others. You don't answer that kind of question, and then the question can go to someone else. But if they know if whatever you know, you have to share that with others. And so this is really how the Dharma wheel is turned and how sentient beings are being benefited. So it is my hope that this is what you will do in future times, that wherever you are, that the translators in those places are starting these discussion groups and then answer the questions. And you can put your complete trust in to their answers. So it's very important that you trust in what the answers that they give you. So that is that's my hope for you.
그다 이나 담만나니 양이름다데 더 최첨적인 뭐 양이름다데 최첨 거래도 또 사지 따치버리 어따디 뭐만 사지 좀 진지 좀 봐래 다요 말에 상고요래 막시는 거 보지 마지 대 말에 대 뭐도 다대 다도 대 양이 상이 양이 나야 요가 메가 대 동시 받던데 이제 그 거리 현강권도 조금 보고는 세상에서 봐 맞아 양이 받아서 뭐 통지 담자 조금 돼서 사지 것 사지를 통지 사지를 사지 것이 미래 주제를 뭐다 말이 송지 동지 통지 송도 통지가 다 말이지 남가 맞아버려 생기면 돼 생기 맞아버려 상지면 되지 봐대 그 상지 톡지 유지가 요리 또 라마 개위신이 담치를 꼭 견디 송 담치 톡 상지 되셔도 가지 오늘 톡 상지에 개위신이 담치 톡 상지나 들지게 개위신이 담치 톡이 셈리지 너다가 생기 담치 셈데 대식이 뭐 요래지 네가 대식이 뭐 요래 드바삼 속에지 차그런도 책이 개발해지 예배들이 예배는 드리세요 저는 통해 담자시 받고 돈이 정고 선대식이 먹고 라당들이 대 심지를 저함이 봐대 남과다와 신남과다와 텔레폰을 그때 늘달매 봐시 야 라니 소지만 통해서 좀매 봐시 늘달매 봐 좀봐 철도와 요말이 선대식이 먹고 니요 말이 대리들이 니면에 드리들 니오는 도와도 잡아요래 남자 요는 드리들 뉴제람지 뭐다 봐시 세든 드마세 봐도 뛰어봐 세든 드마세 봐는 septi tamje kam dechek nyombo de demase ba saje demase ba tes niwade ta dam kara ta zabeli me lo kle ka chi lo de che ma do yombo ngo te ta cha ja ne o dong ye saje den de me ba le 我们讲老外这么上头个的呢，这是什么？这咱们这个说话，他这别的到东京的这没把哈过了的呢，从咱家的呢就从咱家开的，这是用宽个让当人，这个的呢啊，但你刚才查到了那个，但你嘛也的呢，这个跟你这你看呢，这把那嘛那做个的话是说说这个这个的呢，做那嘛那做这个这大军这个嘛呢。甚至嘛，这把这上些军们这把这，东当跟我的军们这把，各种各样的军们这把，但是我们给为什么搞把人这个，比如上些地方没把这波了，这到个，起码给我们做到些那样，但是在你妈到像我的上这个的，东当各种各样的这到上些是吧，军车啊，要嘛些，这到了等于两个人们上些两个人大呀，要嘛些。고도 그거니들 사바다 니제데 준치야 요 말이지 고도 그거리 다 디스트릭 뭐 하고 사제 세르베 제말리베 자베 사제 미바랑 샘지세니데 사제라고 샘데이나 제일 끼워던 차와 보았던 줄 아며 하고서 다른 얘기 재미 말이지 세준 재미 봐 답배추 대반이 낭주 재미 봐 디스트릭 뭐 하는 다 사진 양년 답답답지 매발에서 동담대마 통통 저때다 하고 그거래 통지담 자족 관계에서 통지담 나가리 सब지 담지 라죠 저로버 토마티 차로는 거도 전에 때 동담을 잡도 치고도 로직도 또이때 라는지 그 생고 땡이 세피도 저거도 별로요 말이 사진으로 대신에 그러나 대략적인 다다 롱탐제 나가서 거요래 다다 상지 전에 좀이 로동제 송 늘려면 송으로서 기본은 배송 거요래 전에 좀이 좋아지죠 왜 더고서 더다들이 인상와요 말이 라지게 된다고 그래 이 바꿔서 좀 혼나나 그래서 토마토를 좀 타라테 저거 차토 그래서 계속 말에 대대대 태통고 말이 사지 제베 가요래 세사지 그러면 교신이 제베 가요래 낭사제 소수랑 유네네 하마고 그러니 대다로 상호던 거래 양민은 다좀해봐 이랑이 지랑랑이 지연 거래 해지
Then next in the 7 branches is the branch of beseeching the Buddhas not to pass into nirvana, and that branch is an antidote to doubt. So what kind of doubt arises? The doubt we are referring to here is that, so somebody might think that the Buddha is somebody so precious, and the Buddha has appeared in the past, but now the Buddha is long gone, so the Buddha is not here anymore. So there are those who see things in some concrete way. The Buddha was here before, now he's not here, and so that's why to dispel this doubt, and that's why we supplicate the Buddhas not to pass into nirvana, but actually the Buddhas will never pass into nirvana. They cannot really pass away into nirvana. They will never really actually leave. But we supplicate them actually in order to understand that point. So it says here, I beseech you, protectors who abide throughout all realms, please do not pass into nirvana until the exhaustion of the dhatu of space. Rather, fulfill your commitments by abiding permanently. So we talk about a Buddha passing into nirvana. So what is a Buddha? Is a Buddha body, Buddha's form, or is it a mind? So the Buddha's body is a human being just like us. And the body is a compounded phenomenon and therefore impermanent. The Buddha really ultimately, what we call a Buddha, is the Buddha's mind, like the heart of a Buddha. And that is the Dharmakaya, as all-pervasive like space. And it pervades wherever sentient beings pervade. And Buddhas will continue to manifest for as long as there are sentient beings. So Buddhas are never separate from sentient beings. So is this Buddha mind. It is the mind of all the spiritual teachers, the gurus, and so on. So their body is the Sangha, the speech is the Dharma, and the mind is the Buddha. We've already mentioned that. So the mind of all the spiritual masters is the Buddha. So since the mind is the Buddha, that mind is an altruistic mind, a mind of love. So that's the heart or the mind of a Buddha. And then also those who are to be tamed by this spiritual master, the sentient beings, they also possess the same mind, Buddha nature. They both possess Buddha nature. There's just a difference in obscuration. One is obscured and one is unobscured. Or one's mind is like an ice block and the other one is like water. So here it mentions the fulfill your commitments or like your heart pledge by abiding permanently. So this abiding permanently, it is the heart pledge, the samaya of the Buddhas to always benefit sentient beings. That is the essence, it is that the essence of Buddha Vajradhara, because he represents the unchanging nature of all the Buddhas. Meaning that the Buddhas are never separate from sentient beings. They are within the mind streams of sentient beings, the space-like nature of sentient beings. And whoever realizes that the Buddhas is within their mind without ever meeting and parting. As it is said in the 37 practices, phenomena neither come nor go. So there is no coming together and there is no parting actually in Buddha nature. Because in Buddha nature there is no coming together, no meeting, because we already are inseparable, non-dual. So the mind is non-dual without ever meeting or going separate ways. The body is a compounded phenomenon and therefore impermanent. The mind is uncompounded space. The mind of Buddhas and one's own mind is uncompounded space. Also the Buddha nature of a sentient being is uncompounded space. The uncompounded mind of Buddhas and beings is one and the same. It's just like the electricity that powers everything in this world. There's only one essence of electricity. There's not many. And so just like that, there's only one Buddha. And ultimately, therefore, you find the Buddha in your own mind. And when you find the Buddha, you see what has always been there without ever meeting or parting from you. It is just that beings are temporarily obscured. And some beings' obscurations are thicker, or there is more layers of defilements and so on that they cannot see that. But behind that is a Buddha nature. And so that's the meaning of the fulfilling the commitment by abiding permanently, or the heart pledge. That is, continuously, the Buddhas will appear temporarily to benefit beings, guide them on the bhumis and the paths, and show them the twofold truth of the Dharma. Buddhas will continuously appear in this world and in the various countries and speak in the various languages in various countries to benefit beings. So the Buddhas will never cease to appear. They will always appear to benefit beings for as long as beings exist. And that is true from the ultimate and also relative perspective. From the perspective of the ultimate truth, clearly the ultimate essence is unceasing, but also on the relative level, the spiritual masters will continue to manifest to benefit beings for as long as there are sentient beings. And they will continue to open the eyes to the Buddha Dharma of sentient beings. For example, this has happened even in dire times in this world. For example, there was a time where the Buddha's teachings were going down and declined, and there were efforts to destroy the teachings. There were times where we were not even allowed to wear a mala on our wrist. And now the Buddha's teachings are shining again, just like the sun shining. When there were in the past times where even the name almost disappeared. So that shows the unceasing enlightened activities, relatively and ultimately, of all the Buddhas and masters. So actually, although we do supplicate them not to pass into nirvana, actually in reality they never pass into nirvana. They never can pass into nirvana. Temporarily, they, on a relative level, they continue to appear as manifestations of love and compassion, and ultimately, they are your own Buddha nature. As Milarepa had said, when seeking the Buddha, do not seek the Buddha outside of your mind, but look at the root of your own mind. That is where you find the Buddha. When you look at your own mind, that is the actual Buddha. When you recognize your own mind, you recognize that there is a nature that is beyond birth and death and beyond rise and decline or change. When you realize it, you realize there is this unceasing stream of mind that's always there. And that is the inner Buddha. So on the outer level, the outer aspect of this is the twofold truth of the holy dharma will endlessly, ceaselessly exist. And then on the inner level, the inner requesting not to pass into nirvana actually is one's own mind. So the Buddhas are one's own mind, actually. And therefore, there is no ever really passing away into ampara and nirvana. And there is no duality between anyone who is passing into nirvana and nirvana to be passed into. So that is what you realize when you realize the ultimate reality of the mind. So this heart pledge or this commitment here, that is to ceaselessly appear to benefit sentient beings. So those Buddhas see that sentient beings are obscured by adventitious stains, which is like an ice block. And the Buddhas will continue to appear to melt these ice blocks until they become one with the ocean. But then they do so effortlessly, naturally, just like the ocean just melts the ice naturally without any deliberate intent, without thinking, I must do this to liberate sentient beings. It just happens, it's natural, it happens naturally. And that is because they also possess Buddha nature. It is Buddha nature that allows those things to unfold naturally. In the different scriptures, this is also explained how the Buddha's enlightened activities for sentient beings are effortless and spontaneous. For example, this is explained in the Uttara Tantra, and the Khenpos also explain that elaborately. So what it means is that the activity becomes effortless because they have realized that there is actually no division between those who tame and those to be tamed. And this realization leads to the natural taming of sentient beings. In the glorious Samantabhadra prayer, it says in the very beginning, in the beginning we are one, there's a single ground, and in the end we will become one again, merging into a single ground. So therefore there is no need to have any doubts. So requesting to not pass into nirvana is the antidote to doubts. There is no need to doubt the unceasing existence of the Buddhas. On the outer level, there is the unceasing appearance of the gurus, the spiritual masters. And on the inner level, there is your own Buddha nature, the nature of your mind. It's just you haven't realized it, but it's actually always there. It is your own mind. So that is what you should recognize. And when you recognize this, you will understand, you will really begin to trust. There will be no doubt in your mind. You will trust that the Buddhas actually cannot pass into nirvana.
그래서 사파치바디 군도기와 삼바타트베 삼년지 롱아이서 차라 탐제디 둘이부기와 드미데서 가리 다다 사제그 공리 사주라서 오서한 드마세바지 디기와지 대식중보를 멘다크 대식중보고 디기와 디기들이 둘이부기와 드미데 로는람이 초라 고파르 쇼송트리 몰람다데 너 라미데 라미베고 라미베 공파데 오서한 드마세바 대서도 공파데 들들들이 참자다.
And then the last of the 7 branches is the branch of dedicating our roots of virtue as an antidote to grasping at our virtues. And so it says here, may all sentient beings be established in the unsurpassed supreme state by this virtue, by the virtues accumulated in the 3 times throughout all samsara and nirvana, and by the undefiled innate virtue. So we bring to mind all the virtue accumulated, the virtue of engaging in this practice, this prayer, all the virtues activities that were committed with, practiced with effort, and also effortless. It says here the accumulated in the 3 times and the undefiled innate virtue. So those virtues accumulated in the 3 times throughout samsara and nirvana, that refers to the relative virtues. And the relative virtue are all the activities, coarse and subtle, that are engaged in with a mind of love and compassion. So that's virtue practice on the relative level. And then the ultimate virtue is this undefiled innate virtue here, or call it the primordial virtue. And that is, as you mentioned yesterday, when the Buddha explained the nature of the mind as being profoundly peaceful, free from elaboration, luminous, and uncompounded. So these are basically different names given to Buddha nature. This is the nature of your mind, Buddha nature. That's Buddha nature is your innate virtue. So it's co-emergent, it's an innate within your mind. And all of these virtues are brought to mind and dedicated for all sentient beings, so that all sentient beings will attain this state of realizing the nature of their mind, of uncompounded space, this unsurpassed state of awakening. So whoever realizes the uncompounded mind reaches the state of awakening. So for today, we stop the teachings here.
We'll finish with the long life prayers in the Yellow Prayer Book on page 22. For this realm encircled by snow-covered mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. Tenzin Gyatso, Lord Chenrezig, may you remain steadfast until the end of samsara. Embodiment of the 3 jewels, great being who upholds and increases the teachings of the Shakya lion, supreme are your activities of guiding others with your perfect deeds. May you, the precious Guru who accomplishes everything spontaneously, live long. Holder of the teachings of the Lord Rigumpa, great Lord of the 3 jewels, through the power of your peerless compassion and the holy Dharma's peace and light, you bring relief to beings. May your life be long. The one known in the noble land as Arya Deva, emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet as Chodingpa, the heart son of Jingding Gompo. May the life of the glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 eons. Page 28. May the teachings of the great Drigumpa Ratna Shri, Master of Interdependence, Omniscient Lord of Dharma, who has seen all knowable things, be upheld until the end of psychic existence through study, practice, hearing, contemplation, and meditation. Your 1,000 arms are the 1,000 wheel-turning kings. Your 1,000 eyes are the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. Your love is boundless like space. I supplicate to the Bodhisattva Chenrezig.
Yashitele to everyone who has joined on the live stream. Remember, and please organize these discussion groups in the future. So do your discussion groups well.
Oh, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. We'll be doing the white tar practice with His Eminence Garchen Rinpoche tomorrow.